The year is 1999. The world is gripped by excitement, by fear, by trepidation. Not too dissimilar to today, right? The millennium bug, Y2K, it's on everyone's lips. The world has paused. You see, a small oversight, piece of code, computer programs have programmed the year with 2 digits, not 4. What does that mean? It means on the 1st of January 2000, computers around the world will think it's 1900 again. Not good, right? Some of us had to live through it. Luckily, the world rallied. People came together. Code patches were issued, operating systems released. Crisis averted. Not because of panic, because of our ability to adapt. I too am full of excitement, fear, and trepidation. Not because of Y2K, the millennium bug, but because I'm about to receive my GCSE results. You see, I'd always struggled at school. I could never get to grips with learning. I felt different, could never really fit in. And if truth be told, I was never really inspired. I'd later learn that that was down to my ADHD, but that's a story for another day. And so this is the day of the GCSE results. And I still vividly remember that school hall. The scuffed carpet, the smell of marker pens, envelopes opening like crisp packets. One friend cheered, another cried. I opened mine, my stomach dropped. I'd failed. I kind of knew that already, but seeing that in reality really hit home. And then a teacher came up to me and patted me on the shoulder and said, "Good effort." That hit hard. At that moment, I knew that's all people really ever expected of me. I knew I needed to change. And I knew I needed to do so from a place of authenticity. So over the coming years, I really took time to learn about myself. I was different, and that was fine. I was a problem solver. I was creative. I was innovative. I was an entrepreneur, although I didn't yet know what that word really meant. I then went on a journey of discovery. I went to college, studied leisure and tourism and IT. I enjoyed elements of it, but it didn't really spark anything, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So I adapted again, I pivoted. I became a chef, loved it. Loved the creative process, hated the long hours. So I changed again, worked in a factory. That was the motivation I really needed to make a positive change. And then I got a job in sales. Loved people interaction, loved engagement. But actually, it didn't fill me with purpose. I went to university. I studied media. And all of a sudden, something lit up. Creativity, problem solving, technology combined. I could see the world ahead of me. I got some work experience. That work experience turned into an award. That award turned into a job. That job turned into a 10-year career. I went from graduate to a person in that organisation that helped it grow and eventually sell back in 2017. Through that time, I had to adapt. Social media emerged. Marketing plans went out the window. The financial crisis, budgets got redone, whole strategies got reimagined. And that brings us to this very stage. I needed change. I wanted to do something filled with purpose. I arrived in Birmingham and I saw a city full of potential, but not yet realizing that true potential. And I wondered why. Why the second city didn't have a burgeoning tech ecosystem. And so I created Birmingham Tech Week. I launched it on this very stage 6 years ago, almost to the day. It's quite poignant. Now, people think that when I created Birmingham Tech Week, I did it with a grand plan, a large sponsor, big budgets. None of that is true. I formed it on 3 core values. I wanted to celebrate the amazing people, businesses, programs, initiatives that make up this wonderful city and region. I wanted to foster an environment of collaboration, connectivity, shared purpose. And more than anything, I wanted to inspire people from all walks of life to have an opportunity to work in technology, an opportunity that I was very thankful for, but I didn't want to be the exception. Throughout Birmingham Tech Week, we had to change, we had to adapt. Venues fell through, speakers cancelled. We had to have agility, we had to be flexible. And what I realized at that moment is I had a plan. Not only did I have a plan, I had a model. Subconsciously, I'd been using it all my life. I call it SCAN. See, choose, act, and notice. See the change in the world that you want. Imagine that vision. Choose wisely, choose smart, choose with instinct. Act with purpose, with conviction, with movement. And when you do so, notice what happens. Amazing things do happen. What I found with Birmingham Tech Week was when I set out on a mission and brought people with me, people followed, people engaged. If part of a plan didn't fit with our values, we shifted, we adapted, we changed, we were flexible. And it allowed Birmingham Tech Week to deliver impact far beyond what I'd initially imagined. Because we saw, we chose, we acted, and we noticed the change we were making. And then it all changed again. I became a father. And those of you that are parents in the audience tonight know how hard it is, and I think that picture there demonstrates how hard parenthood could be. I've had better days, right? But what was amazing is overnight, I saw the world differently. I chose things that were important, a work-life balance. I acted in the interest of not just myself and my ambition, but by my family and what I wanted for them. And I noticed what had happened along that journey, how it shifted, how it shaped. Now, what I also found through this process is children are pretty amazing. They have no fear of failure. They fail fast, they fail smart. They build a tower, they knock it down, they giggle, they try again. And that got me thinking, what if adaptability isn't something we learn, it's something we forget. School, social pressures, work, the fear of looking silly almost removes the ability to adapt. And I saw in my child that actually she had that innate ability. And that got me thinking, how do I really instill that in not just myself, but others as well? Now, at this part of the story, you may be thinking, okay, this guy's got adaptability down to a T, right? He knows it, he's got a model, everything's great. You'd be wrong. So I suffered burnout a couple of years ago. Not a kind of cinematic burnout, but it was like running through treacle. Everything felt more difficult. The old playbook, the one that said, I'll prove you wrong, had changed. Success had masked depression. Could I rely on the old model, SCAN? No. SCAN itself had to adapt. I spent a lot of time seeing, observing, less time acting. When I did act, it was small. But through time, effort, understanding my values, understanding my purpose, I got my mojo back. So why am I telling you all this at a TED Talk called Reimagining Tomorrow? Because we don't know what tomorrow looks like. In a world of AI, it isn't about chasing intelligence, chasing the ability to understand AI, learn how to code. What it's about is authenticity. And through this time, you can use SCAN. You can see the world differently, see the world that you want in a new industrial, technological revolution. Choose wisely. What role do you want to play in an AI-dominated world? Act and notice. Notice the change that you can have with AI. But it isn't about AI, is it? It's about you. It's about your willingness to change. Because AI isn't going to take your job. But someone that is willing to adapt, is willing to see, choose, act, and notice, just may. So my ask of all of you tonight is to think about one change that you've been wanting to make and run SCAN. Run it tomorrow. Run it in a week. And what will happen is you will have hundreds of experiments running. Some will fail, cheap lessons, but you'll learn. Some will succeed. They can become habits. But in doing so, you will adapt from a position of authenticity. And remember, the day your plan changes isn't the one where your story ends. It's the one where a better one begins. Thank you.